Thank you. Great. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Chris. I know you had meetings this morning that you moved around for us. So we're going to be discussing how sales operations have played a really strategic role in UiPath's accelerated growth. So unfortunately, Mitesh couldn't be with us today. He's their sales operation manager, but because Chris, and their team are so close, you'll be able to, talk their praises and how you've worked together.
If I get very serious, that's Mitesh's voice.
Okay, good. Well, we'll do a bit of both then. We'll do a bit of fun and serious. So UiPath has been recognised as the leader for robotics process automation by the Forrester Wave report, and has experienced phenomenal growth. So UiPath has doubled in Salesforce and doubled in customers just in this year. So Chris has been busy. And so I understand that you're really passionate about technology and where this automation is taking us. So maybe you could share a bit with us about what brought you to UiPath and this growth that you're experiencing.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's my career has historically been ERP, financial service-based software. So about a year and a half ago, when I finally found out about this wonderful world of automation and RPA, I couldn't forget about it, and it drew me into working for UiPath, an amazing organisation, both culturally and professionally in terms of how they were operating. But I think that the thing that ultimately, from a sales perspective, motivated me or excited me from a technology standpoint, it's across every industry sector. We can talk to every single industry that we service, but actually you talk about some of the previous brilliant sessions that we've had today, some stats like organisations using 66 CRM systems. That is quite common with very large global organisations that will have grown in very federated styles, through acquisition, merger and acquisition, and actually being able to help those organisations try and make sense of their internal infrastructures, even if that means leveraging what they're currently using to make their employees' lives easier when using it, or importantly, actually make the customer experience that they're delivering. Because there's nothing more certain than if you are speaking to someone, a call center agent or a seller that's having to navigate across multiple CRM systems, actually that customer experience can often be quite painful, or in fact can be quite painful behind the scenes. To go back to the other comments around productivity, getting people to be able to focus on planning and executing rather than entering data into 15 different systems. So it motivates me every day. There's exciting cases I get to deal with, and my team are also very engaged in helping that. Yeah, no, I hear that the customer satisfaction and customer excellence is really important to you, and therefore that's why the theme of today is the human and technology, right? Mm-hmm. And so when I asked you about what you were passionate about, when you would have liked to share with the team, you mentioned that sales operation had played an absolutely key role in terms of your business, but it wasn't always the case, and it was very much to do with relationships and how you respect each other. So could you maybe share with us a little bit more about the journey that you went on with sales operations? I think I would say we've modernised sales operations, and there's a number of pillars to that. But I think it comes down to bringing sales operations to the forefront. For me, sales operations often can be the team you go to resolve commission problems or understand how to get market segmentation data. They're often a task-led part of the business in terms of being able either to report retrospective problems rather than actually help you predict and plan for future opportunities. But again, I make no apologies for saying that one of the things that changed this year for us in terms of sales operations being brought to the foreground and looking further ahead was the introduction of Clary. We have always been able to, in my last 10, 15 years of using Salesforce and other CRM systems, get the data we need. But it is a manual exercise. Right. It is constantly searching for the information that you need, building different reports, rendering information in different ways. We heard about living in Excel. That actually was a sales leader's number one pain, because it was always analysing lots of data across lots of different people. But Mitesh, for example, who I work very closely with, he has helped with the Clary team shepherd in the use of Clary. Now, it's not been without resistance, because of course the first response is, I get this data in Salesforce. And of course, we know that's true. But actually, it's about educating what it delivers to the sellers, what it delivers to the sales leaders, and ultimately what it delivers to the hierarchy above to help us look at the data ahead of time. You know, for me, actually, one of the things we do as an automation vendor is we try and talk about, you know, following the process that will reduce administration and make life easier for everyone. We shouldn't reinvent the wheel with using our CRM tools, because actually when there's tools that can point you at the right information, that's key. And you know, I'm sure you'll see more from Clary today, but actually the AI insights, whilst there's always a bit of doubt in terms of where they're factored, by using them more and more and seeing the history that it produces, we're actually starting to find it's a bit spooky because of how accurate it can be.
Accurate is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, when you mentioned like, you know, Clary in terms of the tool and the data, you mentioned to me that, you know, it was needle moving for your business. So how did that data translate into like human behaviour? So
a good example is, you know, there is, as always, it's great to have an image rather than underlying lines and lines of data. But there's a particular method that's used, CRM scoring. It factors in activity of the individuals, but it also has some other intelligence that's built that we probably all know how to look at, push counters, you know, change in dates and behaviour that actually is not conducive to that hitting that close date that's been presented by the salesperson. For us, actually, we spend more time looking at the lower CRM scores, you know, the lower rated opportunity, because they may just need a little bit of corrective treatment. And that's where sales operations comes into it. That's the main focus of Mitesh. He spends half his time when I'm out at meetings with clients and looking at the opportunities that are sitting with the teams that might need a little bit of extra help. You know, irrespective of how well our process is defined, it still is sales, and people often need to be re-steered.
Yeah, I think he mentioned as well that, you know, it helped drive the accountability of your team, you know, with that data to be proactive, and I think that side of things, you know, we often think of data as past fault, like you said, like how to fix problems, and actually, you know, this AI aspect of technology is enabling us to predict and help be more, help dictate our kind of educate our actions.
I mean, people don't like Big Brother. People don't like being, you know, because many people have a great response for why their opportunity shouldn't be a low CRM score, or why it should be, you know, well regarded. And there's lots of reasons for that. But yeah, I think it's all about being able to think for the future, and you know, people actually see that the tool is a help to them, so that they can take action before they know that they're going to get asked by Mitesh,
right,
who's pretty vocal in terms of helping us run, you know, the entire sales organisation, because it's a big team, and it's a very new team as well that just might need a bit of help in one area, or it might be an entire team's approach. But you know, it's little and often continuous improvement that's driven by the sales leadership endorsing our sales operations to have kind of an equivalent voice.
Great. And are there any other tools that you found that, you know, you've implemented that have helped with that accelerated growth?
Yeah, I mean, I think I shared with you an image of our internal hub of the technology that we've invested in. You know, the technology HighSpot, you know, tailoring our content and putting, you know, we used to talk about having a G Drive or a SharePoint site that was like the teenager's bedroom, because you couldn't find anything anywhere, and it wasn't indexed properly. So HighSpot, being able to actually find keywords and documents you've been searching for just by remembering that one word that might have been in the document, or is a game changer. Exactly, it's not fully implemented yet, but it will take away that concern that was referenced about sellers searching for the amounts they're due and ensuring that correlates to what they believe they closed. LinkedIn has been, you know, a consistent tool that we've used. You know, we are using Point Drive to tailor, you know, industry-specific messaging. And as you saw from the list, there's probably 20 or 30 other tools that are used by, you know, marketing operations and our SDR function. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Well, listen, I think we've kind of gone a bit over time, so I'm being nudged. So in terms of like what you could leave the audience with in terms of, you know, how they could make, you know, the kind of operational side of things more aligned with sales, like what would you like to leave, you know, any recommendation or advice you'd like to give our audience?
I think for me, it's about the customer obsession always. You know, sales operations doesn't change your outbound activities, and I think there was a great session from Declan Donnelly earlier on about all of the different focus areas, but actually what he did was a great storyteller, and I think that ultimately is something you cannot remove. But sales operations, for me, is about, you know, providing consistent data, you know, staying customer obsessed, you know, getting the sellers out, telling more stories, and staying productive. So yeah, I think that probably summarises it.
Absolutely, and I think for me, you know, as a coach, actually, that human aspect, you know, that's why I'm really sort of vocal about this technology, is because by enabling all that repetitive stuff being done, then you know, you can enable your sales team to think more about how to connect the dots, how to resolve pain for your clients, and how to come up with solutions that are going to fix their problems in a unique way. And that's why I'm excited about PJ. You know, he's going to wrap up the day with his presentation around how this is actually going to impact sales training. So again, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chris.
Thanks, guys.
And continue.